At first, I knew they weren't lying, you know. I knew it wasn't, oh, they got drunk and, they came back with the story. I knew that was not the case. When they got here, they were outside before I was, and went outside with them, and they were talking, and all three of them were shocked, but repeating the same things over. And I was listening, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When Adolf showed us the handprint on the hood, it was unbelievable, I guess to say, because I was hearing it, but I didn't want to believe it, but I could see it. You looked at it and it was like that's not a normal handprint.
I was here when Adolf brought the truck back and said, "Look at this handprint." And I was like, "What the heck is that?" And I went and got my camera, and I think I put a pencil down or a quarter or something so we can get the scale, and I took several pictures of it. And I was here when he came back and said, "It's back," after he washed the truck. I didn't feel like he was trying to fool us. I didn't feel like he was deluded. He was pretty matter of fact. We all know that, guys like to get together, they fish, they party a little bit, they drink. But for it to go this far, I think it was a little bit beyond that. So I don't know how to explain it. And yet it's still, for me, it's not quite enough to say absolutely something happened there. But I can't ignore this, and I can't explain it away. So I don't know where that leaves me, other than the fact that, like I said, I worry about my brother because he's my brother and I love him and I want him to be happy and safe and healthy, and something happened to him. Now, had he been a stranger, I would be saying, how the hell do you explain this? Tell me about this. But because he's my brother, this isn't nearly as important to me as, is he okay?
It's this one?
Yeah. So we did this. I mean, I don't know how old I was here. I must have been, God, I don't know. What do you think? 12?
Yeah, maybe 12.
If I remember correctly, it was like exactly 30 years later that we reproduced this photograph. And we tried to all get into the same poses. Yeah. And in the original one, Kenny had his eyes closed. I don't think we got any good shots of all of us looking. That was the closest we got. Mm-hmm. But here, I mean, look at him. He just looks scared. So every day I walk by there and I glance up and I think, that's Beans, and he was in the midst of it. He was right in the heart of it.
I remember seeing this on Adolph's car. That was one of the things that we looked at. And I see a handprint with a really long curly thumb on it. It reminds me of the cliff drawings, like from the Anasazi and stuff. Really, really cool. And that's what it reminded me of. Looks like a hand. The one thing I know for sure is seeing that my brother was really, really affected by this. That's my concern. What happened, he experienced one way or another, and it affected him for the rest of his life. If it was real, I certainly have no, we might have say anything. I have nothing to judge or to give advice or to say do this or do that. And if it didn't happen, who am I again to say what happened in your head and your experience? I'm not able to judge that. I listen a little bit here and there, but I never really got really into the story, but I could tell that Beansy was just more tense than usual and more energetic than usual. And then I just, knowing how people are, I thought if I'm seeing this much and he's, on a scale of 1 to 10, his energy is like an 8, and now it's an 11, then it probably feels more like a 15 to him. That it feels way over, and those kind of things that it's just concern for somebody that you love. I could tell that his energy had changed, and in interactions with others, and I think that probably was not just in that moment. It was what he felt his whole life circumstance was, and that plays out in every relationship, that we have. So that's kind of how I saw him changing with that. And it's, and in watching, I don't know, I'd be curious to in his take and see what his life is like now. He had a lot going on
Yeah.
at one time. And I think that he shared some of it, but I don't think he shared everything. That was either going on in his life, and even bigger than that, how he felt about everything going on in his life.
He sort of just mentioned it one time. He didn't tell me like any details for a long time, but I think it was later he just said something about like, and I probably asked him to tell me some story, and he said like, I got abducted by aliens or something, I don't know. Now I've been like transcribing all like Adolf's stuff and a bunch of his stuff, so now I know like all the details. So I guess in a way he's kind of just been like, I guess you can know everything now. I was transcribing a tape of his. He'd be like, oh, I can't remember if that's an old tape or a new tape. And I'd be like, oh, you talked about this. And he'd be like, oh yeah, those something, 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 and then kind of elaborate on it. So he like pulls details, like remembering like really good. And so far from like typing everything or reading everything firsthand, they all like correspond.
Would you say now that you believe in aliens?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was never one to like really rule out anything. Like I've always sort of, I guess, believed in the idea of like most things until I guess really proven otherwise. And so then when that happened, it was just like, yep.
Do you ever worry that you might be visited by them just based on your association with your dad?
Yeah, I worry about it sometimes. There was like one instance that I told him about, and he was like, that's it. And so ever since then, I've just been like kind of nervous about it, but things really happened.
What happened?
Like I was sleeping and I woke up for no apparent reason, and I was like really scared, and I don't know why. And I went to like look because I thought someone came in my room, but there was like you know when you close your eyes and it's like black with like pretty much nothing. It looked like an area of like nothing, and then I just woke up in the morning, and then I was like, that was weird. And we were at Taco Bell or something, and I told him because he said something about when he had told me, he said that he would look to try to see what was there, but he couldn't process anything. And then I told him what happened, and he's like, that's exactly what it is. He's like, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. And I was like, oh great. But that's been the only time.
When was that?
Not that long ago. It was maybe like a year ago.
Really?
Maybe less than that.
I know that the mind can play tricks on you because I've, like looked at somebody and 5 minutes later I would have said they were wearing a blue shirt, and when I look back at them they're wearing a black shirt, but in my mind it absolutely knew it was a blue shirt, so I know your mind can definitely, believe what it wants to believe. Well, it's different when somebody tells you. Even after Beans and Adolf started telling me that stuff, it took me a while to start really believing it. It's not that I disbelieved them, but I'd never had anybody tell me something like that before. So I'm less inclined to believe somebody I don't know. I think it's only because I know them that I believe them. But I did have like a couple when I lived out in the country, when it was like there's no lights out there, it's pitch black at night, and there was a bright light in my backyard, and I couldn't find the source of it. There was a barn out there, but the barn light wasn't on, my porch light wasn't on, but my whole backyard and the hill behind my house was just flooded with light, and I never did find the source of it.
To you, that happened, right?
Uh-huh. It did happen. Although I asked my neighbor and he didn't see anything.
So do you think it's possible that you were dreaming?
No, because I got up. It was, I was in bed and I saw, the curtains were glowing. So I got up and went into the living room and looked out and saw that it was all light. I did have another one too, though. When I lived out there, when I was like You know, like I said, it's just pitch black in the country at night. And I lived alone, right? So I'm lying in bed at night, and I just sat up. I can't remember if I sat up first or if I saw the light first, but there was like an electric blue light. I can see it underneath my door. And I sat up in bed and I looked at it, and then I laid back down and went back to sleep. It's like I looked at it and it's like, yeah, there's something in my house. You know, there's a blue light in my house. But for some reason I didn't get up and check it out like I normally would. Yeah, because usually if I hear a noise, I get up and go see, or a light, I get up and go see. But for some reason that light, that's what Bean says, that was an alien. Yeah, because of the fact that I didn't get scared and I just laid back down and went to sleep. So, I don't know. You know, the first time Adolf showed this to me, I didn't believe it. I was just like, I don't know, I just didn't believe it. It's like I listened to their whole story and I heard their voices shaking, and, you know, I saw how scared they were. But when they showed me this, I was just, I don't know, it looks kind of like a monkey handprint to me, although, and then Adolf pointed out, no, a monkey doesn't even have a thumb that long, you know. But after hearing the part that Adolf told with the car shaking and everything, it seems scary to me now.